All right, guys. So with a change over time thesis statement, everybody, with a change over time thesis statement, I'm going to give you your formula. This is going to be different than our comparison essay formulas. Okay? So this is a change over time. And it's actually a change in continuity over time. So the whole point of this essay is to talk about things that change and things that continue. That's the whole point of one of these essays. So you're going to tell me changes that occur and things that continue, and it has to be throughout that time period. So for our journal, real quick, let's address our places, task, and topic of the question that I gave you at the journal. So places, what were the places?
West Africa.
Okay, West Africa was one of them. What else?
South Asia.
Okay, South Asia, which we know is actually like what country? India. And then what was the other option?
Europe.
Europe. Okay, Europe is the one you guys were afraid of. You could have talked about the Umayyads over in Spain. Of course, stuff, right? All right. Don't worry, I'll make sure you guys know that stuff before the midterm and whatnot. So places, you could have talked about West Africa, South Asia, or Europe. You need to pick one of those places to talk about. Okay, what is the task? What are you supposed to do? Yes, ma'am. You're supposed to tell me what changes and what stays the same. What continues? And what was the topic we were focusing on? Not just Islam, but what about Islam? Cultural impact of Islam. So you need to address the cultural impact of Islam. Now, with this, since it's a change in continuity over time essay, you need to also address the dates. What dates were given to us in our journal? Yes, sir. 1000 Common Era to 1450 Common Era. So your thesis statement needs to address one of the places, because we are not comparing anything in this essay. You just pick one. Your thesis statement would need to address what changes and what stays the same in regards to the cultural impact of Islam, and your thesis would also have to have these dates in it. Okay, so you would have to include these dates. So let's go ahead and make up a thesis. The formula for your change over time starts off with between. So our comparison essay starts off with although. Your change over time starts off with between. Nathaniel, do you have your phone out? You should put it away if you do. Okay? And with between, we say between the years, and then we fill in the blank. And what were our years?
1000 CE, 1450 CE.
1000 CE to
1450 CE.
1450 CE. So between the years of blank and blank, and then we fill in the blank with this place. Which one do you guys want to address for this one?
Europe.
Europe? You sure? Because I'm going to make you, West Africa?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Between the years of 1000 to 1450 in Western Africa, okay, so here's how our formula looks. Between the years of blank and blank, in this place, this thing changed while this thing remained the same. Do you see how this works? Or this thing remained the same while this thing changed. Either way. So your formula is going to include a change And it's going to include a continuity. What continues? So, with Western Africa in the Kingdom of Mali, what are some things that change with the introduction of Islam? Yes, ma'am. Literacy rate changes. So that would definitely be something very easy to write about in your thesis statement. What else?
The value of their gold.
Okay, the value of their gold changes. How is that impacted by Islam, though?
He spread out all the gold.
Okay, Mansa Musa, he goes on this pilgrimage, right? And on his pilgrimage to Mecca, he's like, look at me, I got all this money. And he makes it rain with gold on the pilgrimage on the way to Mecca. Okay? Problem is, if everybody has gold, is gold valuable? No, right? If I give each of you $1 million, is $1 million, like each kid in East River High School has $1 million. Is $1 million valuable anymore, like within the school? Because Corey can be like, I got $1 million, and Connor goes, so do I, Corey, right? Actually, that would be the other way around. Connor would be like, I got $1 million, and then Corey would be like, duh, so do I, right?
It'd still be a lot of money.
Yeah. In the world, but within East River High School, it's not like one kid's richer than another then. Okay? So it's no longer it's valuable. Sadie.
Like social status, because the lower people, they were kind of more equal because everybody's supposed to be equal and not allowed.
Yeah, that's going to be seen more in the Delhi Sultanate. I would save that one for there because Delhi had Hinduism with the caste system. Africa, people were more equal in the first place. So that kind of thing is more good for Delhi. Yes, ma'am.
Their like prayer rituals, the way they prayed in the mosque legal.
Okay, so the fact, what? Okay, the fact that they're building mosques and people are praying 5 times a day would be a change. You could also talk about the literacy rates. So those sound like some good changes that I would want to discuss here. Between the years of 1000 to 1450 in Western Africa, with the introduction of Islam, sorry, we should have the topic in here. Well, you better make space. Sorry, I was just doing our formula and I forgot we need the topic in here. With the introduction of Islam, culture changes to, what do we want to say, higher literacy rates, yeah, higher literacy rates, and more mosque being built, something like that. Higher literacy.
Wait, so read that sentence. It's with the intro of Islam.
With the introduction of Islam, culture changes to have higher literacy rates and the building of mosques. Okay? So with the introduction of Islam, culture changes to have higher literacy rates and the building of mosque, while, what do we want to say continues?
With the naked people and all that stuff.
Well, naked people still continue, no.
Yeah.
Make some
Primitive
people
church.
roam the streets. Do it.
What do we want to say? Ooh, too close to the video.
That's what we want to put.
What?
We want to put that naked people still roam the streets.
What we do the rude gestures.
Okay, we could say that some of the local cultural traditions continued, and then in your essay you could actually talk about women walked around with their big breasts hanging out. You could even say that and I wouldn't take off points. Okay, but if you start calling them boobies, then I would start, now you're starting going on the wrong track, okay kids? So while, and then we'll take away this little continue here. While traditional cultural practices continued, and then in your essay you could elaborate on the boobs, the eating dogs, the eating donkeys, the throwing dust on their heads, allowing the baboons, all of that kind of stuff. You could also talk about how the mosque, what were the mosques going to be built out of in Africa? Mud. You could talk about that too. Okay? So do you see how this creates a nice little formula for you? Between the years of blank and blank, in this place with this topic, I forgot to throw that in there, this thing changed while this thing stayed the same. Okay? We will practice this more before your midterm, but actually I think for your Unit 3 test, I also want you to do a change over time thesis on it. Okay? So we're going to practice this a couple more times to make sure everybody remembers the formulas. Does anybody have any questions about how this works? Do you feel like if I had time to grade essays, you could actually write this essay out? Maybe, yeah? Okay, your body paragraphs would just consist of talking about changes, and then what also continues with the introduction of Islam. Okay? And don't worry, we'll be practicing those more like in January and stuff, the actual essays, after I get all of your other ones graded. Okay, this goes on.